Go! What's going on in Hot Atlanta? Live from Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 brings back the hottest hip-hop radio show live from K.L.P Entertainment and K.L.P Studios. Go! It's K.L.P Aftermath. Morning with your host, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas.
You know what it is? Put your hands up.
Tune in now on any audio platform.
Go.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, boy howdy. Boy howdy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, K.L.P Aftermath Podcast powered by iHeartMedia. And you guys are tuning in, man. First and foremost, I do want to thank everybody for, staying tuned with the podcast episode. Today, it is a wonderful Monday, December 29th, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that everyone has had a fantastic, and we do mean this, a fantastic Christmas season. Of course, on this episode, we do have topics and conversation on the podcast, but I do want to talk about how our Christmas was this season. But before we get to that, this week, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, now you know, right? You're catching up with K.L.P before the new year starts. Of course, this is the last week of 2025, and I'm quite excited, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And Hope is here in the studio, my producer here. I'm quite excited simply because, it's a brand new start, right? It's a brand new start of the year. It's a brand new journey. It's a brand new thing. Very excited for that because I look forward to just a lot of great things that's happening for 2026. 2026 is going to be a fantastic year. I can already feel it. It's going to be great, Hope. But I hope that everyone that is ready for 2026. We do have an interesting topic towards the end of this episode. It kind of correlates with the premise of this episode. Now, before we get to the topics of conversation on the podcast and everything, first and foremost, we hope that everybody enjoys our podcast episodes. You guys can watch it on anywhere you get your podcast from. By the way, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Not on Netflix yet. I'm manifesting how can we get our shows on Netflix for next year because, Breakfast Club signed their deal and they're going to be streaming their shows on Netflix. That's going to be really cool for them. But everywhere you get your podcast from. And, of course, what happened was with me and Evelyn, watch current episodes because we're going to have a new episode for next year. January 3rd, I believe that's on the calendar, is where we're going to come back and record. But we're going to be back here into the studio for a brand new episode for the new year. So we can't wait for that. So you guys can watch our Christmas episode. We explain what we're going to do for Christmas. By the way, you guys can check out and watch Dear Isaiah. Let me tell you something. I'm very excited for that. Early access from Relay by a Film Hub. Relay is a new streaming service from Film Hub for us independent filmmakers. By the way, if you guys want to know about it, Relay, they're starting. Let me tell you, Film Hub, they got something going, right? I'm glad to be partners with them, and they're helping us with our content and our films. And, you can watch Dear Isaiah right now on Relay. You can get a free trial, by the way. If you're new to it, you can try it out for 7 days. And, guys, it's just $4.99, right? We pay more subscriptions and other things than we do on Relay, right? So if you got money for Netflix, because I love Netflix. Shout out to y'all. You got money for Relay. But if you're not too sure yet, again, you guys can sign up, get a 7-day free trial to see how you like it. And while you're on your free trial, be sure to watch Dear Isaiah, a new impactful documentary by yours truly, Kennedy Lucas. Very excited for that. And another announcement before we get to the topics of conversation here today. I can't wait. January 1st, this Thursday, I want to say that's the date. My new gospel album will be released. I cannot express how excited I am for that new that new gospel album that come out. Of course, my new gospel album, it is called Holy Grounds. And let me tell you something about this album. Of course, this album is something that I've worked really hard on. I got to send a shout out to all of my producers that helped put this thing together. I want to give a shout out to Dravion. I want to give a shout out to Monica Gray. I want to give a shout out to Remy. I want to give a shout out to Swanky Auras. And I also want to give a shout out to the Kennedy Lucas Choir. Because once you see the album and see that everybody had a part in every song, let me tell you something. I am super, super excited for this gospel album. I think this is a grand start for me, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you something. If you guys don't know, which you probably should know, because if you follow my social medias, I've talked about it a lot. Within this year, I renewed my faith with God. Right, it's no secret that I renewed my faith with God, and I just became very faithful spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. And I knew I always wanted to do a gospel album. I've done albums before, obviously, but I wanted to do a gospel album, and I'm really, really, really excited that I was able to go out and do a great gospel album, because this gospel album, it's not just me producing, doing some harmony, doing a little bit of singing, really, to be honest with you. It's all of us. Again, Monica, Dravion, Remy, Kennedy Lucas Choir, Swanky Auras. All of us have our story to tell in this album. And how gracefulness and gracious we can be going into 2026. And I'm very, very excited because it comes out January 1st. And that is the start of the new year. That is the start of something brand new, a brand new year, a fresh new start, new year, new me, that whole spiel. It's brand new and kicking the year off right. That's why I'm very, very excited for this album. Of course, the album cover, y'all see me with the lifting the weights, is lifting the holy grounds into my spirit. That's kind of like the concept of the album. And I got to say a little bit, shout out to the gym, because that picture I took right at the gym, on nonchalant, I took it and I said, this would be really good for the cover. And of course, we had to Photoshop all the extra stuff and really put some effects on it. I'm very, very excited for it. I do hope when this album comes out January 1st, this week, that people really enjoy it. Listen to the lyric, listen to the beat, listen to everybody. I think I've had some emotional parts in this. I know my guy Remy, he's our new artist, new singer / rapper that we signed for Swanky Records. You know, he has quite a few songs that he rap, of course, in the album, but you're gonna really feel what he's been going through, right? There is a moment in there with Remy. There's a lyric, I can say it. There's a lyric in this. My son like his father, and I love his black ass. Right, that's part of the lyric. He does have a kid, so he's going through some stuff. So, you know, I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know, and we're good friends, but I said, hey, you know, I'm making a gospel album. I know your story. Why don't you hop on this track or two and give me what you feel, you know? And it just really, really worked out for all of the artists. Me and Dravion, of course, we go way back. It is crazy because Evelyn, shout out to you, girl. She clowned me for it because Crown Me Savage Part 2 comes out in February. So I am booked and busy. This January, we got the gospel album, and then February, we've got Crown Me Savage Part 2, a Valentine's Day album. So we're booked and busy, ready to go. And by the time, this week, I don't know if I have shared this on social media quite just yet, but I can go ahead and say that something new is getting ready to get announced this week from K.L.P Entertainment and Kennedy Lucas Films. You got to watch it on my social media. If you follow us on YouTube or on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, we're going to post it and even LinkedIn too. You guys, folks, you can follow me on LinkedIn too. It's Kennedy Lucas Patterson on LinkedIn. You guys know it's called Project Hearts, coming in 2026. That's all I can say for now. But we are working on something special that's just going to change the game in filmmaking. And I'm praying on it too, because, you know, I have to make this thing work. We're on the road. We got a 4-film deal with Relay, so I've got to make something shake. But I'm very, very excited for just the greatness and goodness that has come down to it. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I hope that everyone had a very good Christmas season. Let me tell you what I did over the Christmas break. I gotta send a shout out to my mama and an air clap. I do, because each year we try to do something, Hope and audience, something different, right? We try to switch up some things and switch up a lot of things when it comes down to what it is that we're going to do for Christmas. Now, this Christmas, every Christmas, we try to keep things simple. I do say to a lot of people, I'm praying for a lot of people that's going through some rough stuff. And this is something I told my siblings over the weekend too, that, a lot of people are going through a lot of tough times around Christmas time, because Christmas is supposed to be a joyous time, obviously, but we had a rocky year, right? There's just been a lot of craziness this year, whether it has something to do with the economy, financials, and political, down to personal events, down to people dying, right? There's been a lot of interesting times, trying times this year. And before Christmas, I saw a lot of people post on either Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I watch TikTok mostly for this, that people haven't been feeling Christmas season this year, right? A lot of people are just glad that Christmas season is done and over with, because people are fed up, people are tired, people are exhausted. Before we shut down our other offices for the Christmas season, a lot of people were locking in to meet their quota, because it is so true that in January, unfortunately, a lot of corporations, a lot of them, they're going to have more job layoffs. Whether we like it or not, there's going to be a lot more job layoffs coming. It's sad to say that. So that's why I saw a lot of people lock in. A lot of people are 3 days before Christmas getting a quota done, getting spreadsheets done, trying to overachieve and overperform the last 2 weeks of the year, because they don't want to get cut. And it's tough that we're in this world, because a few years ago we weren't like that. We weren't in that realm. But now we are. So I do hope that everybody is having, just a swell time when it comes down to celebrating with families if you can. But I also understand there are a lot of people that are going through some tough stuff, and unfortunately, it's not going to stop, right? January is going to be here, and everybody's going to be back stressed, right? So I do say to a lot of people who are going through some stressful moments, I hear you, I pray for you, and I hope that it gets better at the end of the tunnel. And this is something I told my siblings, and something I'm very grateful for, because we were able to travel up north, Blue Ridge area. I won't tell you exactly where we stayed, because, that's kind of private, but just know we were in the Blue Ridge area. And let me tell you something. That space up there is really, really fun. Now, obviously, our studios were here in downtown Atlanta, so it's about a 2-hour drive from the studio. Very glad that it was only a 2-hour drive, because, the commute is long, but it's not that long, right? And Blue Ridge area is really, really nice for a nice little getaway, because you see nothing but mountains, right? Mountains upon mountains. Now, you saw deep mountains. If you want to see really gigantic mountains, ladies and gentlemen, you got to go to Pigeon Forge. You got to go to Gatlinburg. That's where you're going to see the deep, deep, deep mountains. But we do see Blue Ridge mountains, and they're very fantastic. When it comes down to it, we stayed at a very nice cabin to celebrate each other's company. We ate like a fat freaker. I had bacon, had some chicken, had some nachos, right? We went to this place that, let me tell you something, it's called Southern Charm. And Southern Charm in Blue Ridge area is really good. I recommend some people going, if you are looking for a good Southern style food to eat, you might want to check Southern Charm in Blue Ridge. I got to give them an air horn and a clap for that, because that food was so scrumptious. The fried green tomatoes, the scrumptious fried chicken and fries, of course, the butter biscuits that look like they just, like they really baked them biscuits up to greater heights, because you had the buttery biscuits and the apple hot jam. It wasn't cold jam, it was hot warm jam that you put on your biscuit. All of that was just so good. The customer service was really, really good. Shout out to a person named Mason. He was our waiter, and they were very fantastic. It's just that Southern Charm. I do want to say the city of Blue Ridge, I think the town of Blue Ridge, I am glad, and I say this, there's no race in this podcast, but I am so glad that we didn't get overlooked. Obviously, Georgia is a red state. Hopefully they turn blue. Again, I don't swing blue or red, but, obviously, sometimes when it's red, you're gonna deal with some racism, right? There's no secret that being in the South, you kind of have to be careful as a black man and a black woman, right? I am really glad that no one tried us in the city of Blue Ridge. Now, I'm not saying that all white people are racist. That's so not what I'm saying, because I have a lot of white friends, right? But you kind of have to be careful where you're at, right? Because when you're in the southern part of town, they may not be so keen to the blacks, right? It's just the crazy world that we live in, right? And then you got the man that's in the Oval Office that's instigating all of this stuff. You have to be careful. But I'm glad that we didn't get tried in the city of Blue Ridge, because honestly, yes, Blue Ridge area is a little southern, even though it's more north than Atlanta, but it's southern, right? You got to be careful. There was quite a few of us, but not as many as you would see in Atlanta, right? So I'm glad that no one looked at us funny. They didn't say, oh, there's black people here, I need to go. Everybody was chill, right? Everybody was chill. Let me tell you something, though. And this is a joke I say to people, because a lot of people say, Kennedy, you need to leave these white girls alone before you get in trouble. It's a joke, ladies and gentlemen. But it's true. We went to a chocolate shop, right? A chocolate spot, a place to, and what you'll see in Blue Ridge too, you don't see like your corporate brand name stores in these in Blue Ridge town. What you see in Blue Ridge town, you see a lot of independent mom and pop shops, which I love, because it brings the authenticness when it comes down to the town itself. Like Southern Charm, there's not many Southern Charms around Atlanta, right? Southern Charm that's a restaurant that's a hidden gem that you can only go to Blue Ridge to experience it, right? So I went to this chocolate spot. Very, very good. We had to get some chocolate for my mom, because surprise, surprise, my mom's birthday was the week of Christmas. So, mommy, I hope you had a very fantastic birthday, by the way. I'm sure you're watching the show. But we went to a chocolate spot. Cute girl that was working behind the counter, tall. She was a little taller than me, right? I'm short. I ain't gonna be afraid to say that I'm short. I'm short. But she was tall, tall white girl, blonde, if that matters. I came in there, I had my coat on, haircut and beard, most swole. I'm coming in there because my business partner and my mom's fiance Tony and our sister Nadia was in there too, and they were picking out chocolates. And she looked up and she said, "Oh," like she was like, "Oh." Ooh. She looked like she was just like, oh my God, he's so gorgeous. I didn't expect somebody like him to come in. And I'm like, you all right? You like what you see, don't you? So I'm over here playing it cool. And I say, yeah, I think she'll like that one. Yeah, no, I think she'll like that one. It's like, so what do you think? It was, I say that as a joke. Some people let me tell you, some of these white girls like black. They like a little chocolate, right? And she worked at a chocolate shop. So maybe that could have been her flavor. That's her flavor that she likes. Obviously, she works at a chocolate shop. She likes chocolate. So very, very interesting when it comes down to those type of stores. Like I say, the Blue Ridge town, I'm so glad that, nobody was racist, right? I'm glad, because based on where we came from, we dealt with racism. Not in Atlanta, but Macon, Milledgeville, there was a county called Jones County. We dealt with racism. That's kind of one of the reasons why we left and moved to Atlanta, because it just wasn't our scene. Plus, my parents were getting better jobs, right? So, like I say, Blue Ridge is a treat to see. The cabin was very, very nice. We all had gift exchange and gift giving and gift opening. And, we played a lot of White Elephant, and we had a lot of gift cards, and it was a really, really good time for everybody. And I hope that everyone, my family members, I'm sure you guys are watching the show, I hope that everyone had a great time, because I had a great time, a nice relaxing time. Obviously, we're back here in Atlanta, back to work, but I do hope, and I say that to say, not to brag and not to say, haha, look what my family's doing. No. Even though you saw it on my social media, there's never my intention to brag of what we got going on. It's just, as a public figure, I kind of have to do these things. And I just hope that everyone had a fantastic Christmas, when it comes down to it, because there are some tough times that people are going through, some very, very, very tough times. So Christmas has been good. New Year's, my plan for New Year's, I do say to a lot of people, if you are going out for New Year's, stay safe. I don't have any plans for New Year's, right? I'm tired. I want to go to the gym, do my podcasting, work on some stuff, and go to the gym and come home and eat. I don't have any big plans for New Year's. It's a brand new, and I'm blessed to see a new year. Obviously, by the great man upstairs, he was able to put fresh air in my lungs, and to see a new year, yes. But I'm gonna stay inside. I'm staying inside. So while I was out on Christmas break, I was able to watch a show fully. And boy, howdy, let me tell you about this show right here. I got to give an air horn for this one. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gives this show a 75%. IMDb gives it a 7 out of 10. And let me tell you something. This is a show that is very, very new, that is available right now on Hulu. Now, Hulu, for some good reason, Hulu is making some good shows right now. I got to be honest, right? Later I think in the next year when we come back for our podcast, I'm going to fully review Reasonable Doubt, the newest season, because there's a new season, and that season is spicy as well. I haven't finished, so I don't want to give you a full review on something I haven't seen or I haven't finished if the season's there. It's good to see a lot of people. There was a friend of mine, I hope we still friends, Miles Evans is in Reasonable Doubt. He probably don't remember who I am, but I watch him very closely. He's a good actor. But I'm going to review Reasonable Doubt later on. This show that I'm about to review that has available of 2 seasons. I believe season 3 is getting ready to come back January 16th. I can't wait. This is the show that's called Tell Me Lies. Boy, howdy. Okay. Now, this show, Tell Me Lies, is a drama series that chronicles of tumultuous relationships between Lucy Albright and Stephen DeMarco over 8 years, beginning in the college scene. Is going to begin in the college scene, and now they're getting ready to unfold their lives a little bit more within the 8-year span. So basically what this is, Lucy Albright, that is played by Gracie Van Patten, is playing this character. She goes off to college, right? Because, her sister and her mom, they have some hidden secrets. I'll get to that in a minute. She escapes the family dynamic because now she's graduated from high school. She's ready to start college. And now when she starts going to college, she meets these friends. Then they all got drama. They all got some stuff that they got boiled up that's going to get exposed within college. And then they're going to fast forward 8 years from college into the grown life. Let me explain thoroughly when it comes down to this. Now, I'm gonna say the character names because it's easier for me to explain it when I say the character names. If you guys want to know the actors and actresses that play these characters, you can IMDb it. I'm just gonna say the characters' names because it's just easier for me to explain. So Lucy Albright, the characters. Lucy goes to college. And, she's just now stepping into the dorm life. She meets a character named Macy, right? Macy's such a sweetheart. Macy is such a sweetheart because she is just now trying to get into the college field, of course. And then her friends, she meets Bree and Pippa, right? Bree and Pippa, they are now friends with Macy, and then they're now friends with Lucy. Now they have a great group of 4 girls that are all friends because, they're freshmen. And, when you're freshmen, you want to meet friends early on because, once you're freshman, that's your clique throughout college, hopefully, right? I met my close friends I met when I was a sophomore in college, and then now we're still friends 10 years later. So now they're all friends, they're all doing their thing, but then Stephen DeMarco, Wrigley, and Evan and Drew, right? They are now all 4 friends. Now, they are not freshmen. They are a little bit older than these 4 ladies, right? Wrigley is the quarterback for the football team at the school, at the college. So, of course, he's this popular football dude, but he's kind of a douchebag, and he's kind of an idiot. Not Spencer House, who plays Wrigley. I'm sure he's a smart man himself, but his character, Wrigley, is such a damn idiot. He's so goofy, but he's a football player, so of course he's swole, right? Of course he smashes every girl that comes into his way because he's dating Pippa, right? Pippa and Wrigley, they have something. They have a dynamic going on. And Bree didn't have a relationship, but within the season, Bree and Evan. Now Evan's playing. Brandon Cook plays Evan, and they're gonna have a relationship towards the end of it. Because the friends kind of forced that relationship. They were crushing on each other, and then now after you crush on each other, you really feel each other out. Oh, I think I like you. Oh, I like you too. So then they become a couple, and then surprising love, Evan and Bree are the two people that are getting married 8 years after college. And now there's scenes where the friends come up to Evan and Bree's wedding, right? Now they're engaged, they're getting married. Wrigley, along with Evan and Andrew Wrigley is Wrigley's brother. You know, they're brothers in hand. Steven DeMarco is friends with Wrigley. Wrigley comes up and he's talking to Pippa. They have a relationship. Lucy, and it was on the campus quad. Lucy looks over at Steven and say, "Oh, I think I like him. He's attractive." Fast forward, they all go to their first college party, and everybody's hooking up with people. And Steven comes to Lucy and says, "Hey, you know, I saw you early. I'm digging you. We gonna make this thing happen." And they do. They make this thing happen. They find in love, and then there's some turmoil when it comes down to it. Now, let me tell you something now. Macy, after the party, Lucy didn't want to go out with Macy on, I think this was like episode 2 or episode 3, because Lucy has some negative effects with her mom. Her mom is, let's see if I can get her. Her mom plays she was big on Grey's Anatomy. I forgot her name officially, but the mama played in Grey's Anatomy. Lucy and the mama got some issues because Lucy actually knows where the mama was when their dad died. Now the dad was sick, very, very sick, and the dad died. And while the dad died in Lucy's arms, she tried to call the mama. The mama was nowhere to be found because she was screwing another man. So that's the deepest secret that them two had, and now they're going through it. Obviously, Lucy wants to get away from college because of that dynamic. Like she can't stand her mama. So within the episode 3 or 4, I can't remember which episode, Macy wants to go to a party, and Lucy wasn't feeling good. Lucy was in her head about that thing. She didn't want to go with Macy. She wanted to be chilled and left alone. That's a bad mistake because Macy goes to this party with Steven, right? And when Macy goes to this party with Steven, they're drunk, they're leaving the party, they're out of their mind, they're driving, and then a car, as Macy and Steven was driving her car back to the dorms, there was another car that ran them off the road, they hit a tree, and Macy dies. Very, very sad, because I think Macy was very, very cute. She's a very sweetheart. So she dies, right? Spoiler alert to a lot of people too, by the way. She dies, and the other person that ran them off the road was Drew, right? Benjamin Wadsworth's character, Drew. So Drew is carrying on this guilt because you ran somebody off the road and you kept going. That's kind of like a hit and run. That's a big no-no. So you involved in an accident and you ran from an accident. Steven, however, was driving the car. And Macy, spoiler alert, Macy was in the passenger seat. They're drunk out of their mind driving. They hit the tree. Before that, Macy was trying to get the seatbelt. Seatbelt wasn't working. First, when I saw that, like, oh, well, honey, you need to get in the back seat then. If your seatbelt ain't clicking in, because had that seatbelt would have worked, she would have been alive, right? Seatbelt didn't work. She clanged her head on the dashboard. She's dead. What Steven does is he got too much to lose because Steven DeMarco is going through some shit too. Steven DeMarco, family dynamics not great. His mama she's crazy. She's kind of a narcissist when it comes down to her character. She cannot accept the fact that their dad got them into the divorce, and the dad moved on to another woman, got another woman pregnant, and she can't stand it, right? And she's not working that much, right? The husband took the money, took the power. she's not working that much, so she can barely afford the kids, right? And then Stefan's sister, she goes to boarding school because she can't take her mama. She can't stand her mama. Steven's character, he's going to do whatever. He's snaky. He's going to do whatever he wants to do to get by, right? He wants to become a lawyer. He wants to do his thing. He wants to find that escape from his past. So when he got into that accident, he could not afford to go to jail when he has too much to lose. So he moves Macy to the driver's seat and made it seem like Macy drove her car by herself. And that wasn't the case. Fast forward, there is a lot of sex. I do say to a lot of people, it's a lot of sex when it comes down to this show. It's a good show. I don't think you should watch this in front of people, because when I said earlier that Hulu's trying to be like Netflix a little bit, I do mean that. When it comes down to the sex scenes and everybody's sexting each other, it's deep. And they go into it like the actors, they moaning, they grinding, like you would think you watching corn, right? You're not watching corn when you're watching this show, right? I think when they do scenes like that, I think it makes the show interesting, in my opinion. I know I'm a man of God and that's lust. I get it. But I also watch shows it's just not real. It's just a show for my entertainment. Not like that. Not like watching corn, but it's entertainment. So I do say to viewer discretion is advice with this show. It's a lot of sex. It's a lot of making out in this show. Diana played, Alicia Crowder plays Diana, and she dated Steven. They were a couple, but then they broke up, and Steven moves on to Lucy. That's why Lucy and Diana had their dynamic. Between Steven, Lucy, and Diana, it's a lot of back and forth. And that's what makes the show so good, but I just don't understand it. If my girlfriend, whoever she is out there, if we broke up, I'd be damned if we gonna get back together 3 million times. Because that's what it felt like with Lucy and Steven. Like, they broke up, they got back together, and Lucy, let me tell you, Lucy, not Grace Van Patten, not her as a person, but the character, she a hoe. Because she dated Steven, broke off with Steven, met Max, broke it off with Max, had sex with Evan, but they weren't together. And now you had Thomas Doherty's character, Leo. Thomas Doherty, he's been in a lot of great stuff too. He plays Leo. He's the added character that dates now Lucy, and then they broke it up, but I get why she broke, because Leo's dangerous. Leo got an anger issue, which I get, because he was, I think in the show he was assaulted, he was abused. So I get the violence in Leo. There's a scene in the show. I think it was before or after Thanksgiving episode where Leo beat the living crap out of Steven. He was just like pop, 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 left and right, and Steven was just taking it, deformed his face and everything. So I get why she broke up with Leo, because Leo is kind of abusive. Not towards her, but towards, he's very aggressive. And like, you don't want to date somebody that's like that, because if you piss that man off one time, he gonna beat the shit out of you, right? And I don't condone domestic violence. I do say to a lot of people, if you are if you are in a domestic violence situation, please seek help, because it's a scary feeling. It's a scary thing to go through. But Lucy, that's why I say Lucy, the character, she a hoe, because she's giving it up to pretty much anybody. And I don't know, like, when I was in college, there was a saying that, you gotta have what's that called? A body count. I don't have a body count, because I'm scared of STDs. I'm scared of AIDS and sexual transmitted diseases. I'm surprised that she didn't get pregnant, because she was just giving it up left and right. And let me tell you, when she was doing them sex scenes, she gave it. That's acting. She was really getting them orgasms. And I ain't saying it like it was corn, but it's a lot of that going on. And then you got Pippa. Pippa don't even know what she wants. And I get it, because, she's dating Wrigley, but Wrigley's a dumbass. right? So now she meets this girl named Charlie. She was a side character in quite a few episodes. Then they made out, and Charlie's a girl and she's a girl, so maybe she might have been playing for the same team. And then fast forward 8 years later, she shows up to the wedding, and her date was Diana. Diana dated Steven, and now she might have turned for the same team. No judgments here on the show. So it's a lot of back and forth. You got Bree, who was dating Oliver. Oliver was a professor. He's 45 and he's a grown man, but Bree liked it at first, but then she got caught up with Marianne Gabrielle Pesson. She plays a professor, and Bree and Lucy's writing professor, and her husband was there, and then Bree had a relationship, but then they said, hey, that's okay because we're in an open relationship. There's a lot of that going on. When it comes down to it. I do say, I hope I gave you guys the synopsis of the show. It is a great show. I think the show did leave it on a cliffhanger because at the end of the latest season, they fast forward to, Evan, poor Evan, because Evan's the rich kid. Evan spilled too much. Evan told Steven, like, hey, before we go on Christmas break, or start the next school year, I need to tell you this been weighing. Me and Lucy had sex. That's Evan. And Steven was like, okay, well, tell me more. But he had his phone recorded. You got to be petty. If your friend conceded in you and told you some secret that he's been holding up, and then 8 years later, you still have that recording, and now you send that to Bree. Again, Bree is the young lady that's marrying Evan. And Bree gets a text from a random number, and it's a voice audio recording of Evan telling Steven that he had sex with Lucy. Now, mind you, Lucy and Bree and Pepper, they're all friends, best friends, right? So now the cat's out of the bag that Evan had sex with Lucy. And at the same time, he is marrying Bree. And that's the cliffhanger. We don't know if Bree's going to break off the wedding or not in season 3. We got to wait until January 16th of this coming year, for season 3 to hit Hulu. But I do got to say, it's so good. The show is fairly new. It came out in 2022, and I think 2024 they had season 2. Now it says here on IMDb page, season 3 episode 1 is supposed to be airing Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. So that's just a few days away. Tell me lies, ladies and gentlemen. It's good. It's really good. I love it. Now, I'm going to take a vocal break real quick because we got Hope on the show. She's going to give us the latest in hip-hop news, and then I'll be back because I'm going to talk about the Woojer Vest 4. Take it away, Hope.
Thanks, Kennedy. No one really knows why Future tweeted a middle finger to the year days before 2026, but there might be some context to unpack. After dropping 3 projects in 2024, Future took a pretty nice break this year when it comes to dominating the hip-hop game. Of course, he still had a lot going on, such as a partnership with Louis Vuitton, but it also seems like Hendrix is ready to leave 2025 behind, as a Sunday, December 28th tweet of his clearly displays. The fuck you 2025 sentiment is evident from the middle finger emoji replacing the curse word. Of course, we have no idea why he tweeted this or what specifically he's referring to, but fans had plenty of theories. "You need to apologize to Gunna," one fan wrote under the replies. This refers to the big Atlanta streets conversations that have been happening this year, most recently with 21 Savage and Young Thug's "fuck the streets" messages. However, this also extends to Thugger's snitching allegations, the YSL RICO case, the rap game ostracizing Wunna in fans' eyes, and a lot of other matters. While this is a very vague and odd message, a lot of drama among Future's collaborators surely doesn't make for the most stress-free situation. At least he didn't have 3 albums to think about this year, although this is obviously not a good thing for fans who love his music. Also, Future was directly affected by these debates recently. He ended up having a brief online spat with 21 Savage that they quickly resolved, and some fans even theorized that Lado was a key reason why the rift originally happened. But again, that's just fan interpretation, so take all of this with a huge grain of salt. Another factor that Pluto fans brought up when replying to this 2025 message is another future beef that might not be as easy to squash. Of course, we're talking about Drake. Although that was obviously more of a 2024 thing, fans of both still feel upset about it. We'll see if 2026 is what brings the duo back together. But the Atlanta legend isn't all doom and gloom. The day before this 2025 tweet, he had a more positive message on his page, manifesting real love and prosperity. More wins and blessings. Next on our front page report, Fabulous fans hope his cryptic IG message is a 50 Cent warning shot. Neither 50 Cent nor Fabulous are explicitly going at each other on social media right now, but their fans want blood. Earlier this week, the Let's Rap About It podcast crew dropped a freestyle that seemed to be one big jab at 50 Cent. Squatters' Rights referenced 50's criticisms of Jim Jones, Mano, Dave East, and Fabulous for allegedly being broke and not being able to pay rent, all of which stemmed from the rappers and podcasters not liking the G-Unit mogul's participation in Netflix's Diddy docuseries Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Since then, it seems like everyone's taking a break for the holidays, but fans still want blood. In 50 Cent's case, he recently issued a New Year's message that seemed to indirectly clap back at his rivals. Let's toast to success, health, and prosperity. I'm planning my new year. When I'm done, I'll come out to play. You know, everyone who plays with me wishes they didn't in the end, he wrote on social media. It's not specific by any means, but fans aren't accepting any other context for it. Similarly, Fabulous recently made an Instagram post that has many fans talking. Back on my bulls and Paui, neni means sawinin frau. Medinin. He captioned a photo dump of his recent Chicago trip. Of course, this caption could just be a reference to the NBA team and the color-coordinated fit on display, but some fans in the comments are hoping for some lyrical heat. Also, you will see many people either clowning or defending Fifth down there as well. So the demand is definitely rising no matter where you look. In fact, this sentiment already flooded Fab's earlier posts this week. Take all of this with a massive grain of salt, as it's purely fan interpretation with no real basis other than context. We'll see what actually goes down. As for what issues these folks had with 50 Cent, they found his participation in the Diddy documentary as its executive producer to be petty, exploitative, and biased. Those criticisms have come from other pop culture corners, not just rappers and hip-hop fans picking a side. Nevertheless, we'll see if 2026 opens up with some social media trolling, some shots in the booth, both, neither, or something else entirely. Fabulous and 50 Cent's previously meager connection might become a big part of their upcoming year.
Hope! Catch us, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Kennedy and Hope's Coffee Talk, a 5-minute show when we talk about exclusive content. That show is available on all audio platforms you get your podcast from, but we also have it on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Again, it's about 5 minutes, so it's a 5-minute listen. If you're brushing your teeth at night before you go to bed, tune in to me and Hope's spinoff show. Again, that's Kennedy and Hope's Coffee Talk. Can't wait for new episodes this week. Now, I wanted to do a light review and a tech review real quick. Before I get to the topics of conversations, the main topic that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to do a tech review. Sorry to a lot of people, I don't have a game review. There's not really. I just reviewed Metroid Prime 4, and that's really the new game that came out for the month of December, so we'll have to wait to see what January brings. But I wanted to review this thing because we did a deal with Woojr. Now, Woojr is a company that is, they make some really, really awesome products, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to talk about the Woojr Vest 4 because I was able to get an early investment in for the Woojr Vest 4, and I wanted to say that it changed my workout routine significantly for the better. Now, if you guys know, you know, the Woojr is an independent company that's a tech company that dabbles, invests in the Woojr mat, exercise mat. The Woojr Vest 4, that piece of technology, it is a haptic feedback for sound that you wear as a vest, and you get to really feel your music, feel the cinematic cutscenes or the cinematic movies, or if you're a DJ that works that best, you get to feel the sounds of your music, your video games, your movies, your content. You get to feel it because basically what it is a vest that has about 4 haptic what sounds like subwoofers that is in that is a part of the vest, and it vibrates on a bass, right? I use it currently for working out. You know, I wear it on top of my workout clothes for about an hour and a half. That it works, that it increases the bass in my music and allows me to feel the bass while I'm working out. A lot of my gym buddies that asked me, I pulled up at the gym, Hope, and audience, and they said, you know, they asked me what it was that what the thing was that I was wearing, and it was like they were very intrigued. I said, "Yeah, is the Woodruff S4 because it allows me to have a more energized workout because I'm feeling my music, I'm feeling the bass, and it's a really fun time when it comes down to it. I'm really dancing and getting it in." There are 3 modes. There's a balance mode, a gaming mode, and a focus mode. I have mine on focus mode because the bass intensifies significantly when it comes down to it. And also what helps, a lot of people don't know this, I use Spotify. I do encourage people to have a bass heavy playlist on Spotify. I'm sure Apple has the same kind of thing too. So that way you are only playing music that has a bass heavy haptic feedback within the song. So that way you get to really utilize your vest a lot more. Very good. They had it for about $500. They have it on sale right now for $300. I do say it is I can't say it's a great Christmas gift because Christmas is past now, but it's a great Christmas buy if you got money for Christmas or a gift card for Christmas. That might be something that you might be intrigued in if you are a music head like I am. Like, I love music. Obviously I love music, so it's one of those things that I really enjoy. I charge it up. Now the only thing though, and it's no fault to them because I have my intensity on 10 and I'm on focus mode, I do wish that the battery life lasted a little bit longer than it should, because I find myself now, I only use it when I'm on the treadmill for my warm-ups and for my free weights. And my free weights part 1, because my free weights part 1 is a warm-up. And then what I do is when it dies, I take it off, I put it in the locker, lock it up, and then I finish part 2 of my free weights, and then I go on to the machines, right? I do wish that it lasts a little bit longer, but boy howdy, you sweat, right? Because you're wearing a vest. You sweat. I don't wash it in the washing machine, no, but I do clean it off because it's sweaty. It can get sweaty. I do say to a lot of people, be careful how much sweat you do because you could it's waterproof, Hope and audience, so you could sweat it out and be fine. I say don't drench it, because when it dies, it's not drenched. So I just take it off, and I don't continue wearing it when it dies because I also can't do some of my workouts with it on. I have to take it off. So like I say, it's worth a good investment, honestly, for me. I really do enjoy it. The bass and the sound is really good. It comes with an LED wheel. I take that off just to conserve the battery a little bit more. But it might be something that you guys can get into. Like I say, I think it's worth it. It's available on their website. It's available at Best Buy. You can pay $350 if you want the Meta version. I don't think that's really a good deal, because with the Meta Vest, it just comes with pockets where you put your Meta controllers in. If you got the base one, you can connect it to your Meta Quest 3S. So I went for the less expensive version. It comes with a lot of things. It comes with a Fidelity haptic body strap, and what it is a body strap. You wrap it around your body, and you get more bass into it. I think that's pretty dope. And it is Bluetooth, right? It connects directly to your phone, your laptop, your MacBook, your iPod. If you still got one of those, you can. It's Bluetooth. It's really good. I'm sure it's Bluetooth between headphones. I do wire it from my headphones to the vest because it's easier for me to Bluetooth one thing at a time. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Here's what I'll say. I think it's worth it if you are a workout head. You might enjoy it more. If you're into the haptic feeling of your movies, sure, and your gaming, sure. I use it for workout, right? That's the only thing I use it for, is for my workouts. So I think it's worth the investment. Shout out to Woocher. They're dope. So the main topic of the conversation for the podcast, on towards the end of the episode, Hope and audience, I try to give you guys just a question, right, that I like to answer openly to end the podcast on a positive note. And I will say this. I will say that this year has been quite challenging for me. If you guys saw my post, I posted these things because although a lot of people see the show, and I'm doing swell in the podcast show, this show, what happened was Coffee Talk. This year has been interesting. It's been a good year, but it's been a hard year, right? That's kind of why I renewed my faith with God, because I was going through some stuff mentally. I do say to a lot of people, I do go to mental things in my mind. I do. Sometimes I feel that I don't want to disappoint our fans. I don't want to disappoint my viewers. I don't want to disappoint people that are important to me personally. I've had a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I've been rejected from not only girls, but also from job opportunities that could have been dope, but I'm glad I did, because now I do have a job that approved and like me for me, and I'm very swell at it as an IT and tech person as well. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the new friends that I've made at church. So like I said, I had a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I do want to encourage people to have more of a disciplined mindset. This month alone, or these last few months, I've learned to be more on a disciplined routine, and I think it works. And the question, as I wrap the podcast, is discipline still virtue, or is discipline still virtue if it's fueled by fear instead of purpose? I'm going to say yes and no. I think discipline is still a virtue. I do say, because when I first became more disciplined, I was scared because I didn't know if I was going to be successful at it. I didn't know if it was going to change my life for the bad if I was more disciplined. I think it's virtue. This is the no part, because I say yes because discipline is virtue, but I say no because I think discipline serves more of a purpose than it does fear. I think now that I'm more disciplined about my personal life or my professional life, if I'm more disciplined, or even my fitness life now, I'm learning to be more disciplined because my purpose is not for the attention, not for a girlfriend, right? And I told my sister, shout out to my big sister, Kendria, she asked me what my goals were. We were up in Blue Ridge. I said, to stay more disciplined, to stay connected with God. And honestly, one of my goals is to get a girlfriend in 2026. I know I'm a romantic. I get it. But that's one of my goals, right? To get a girlfriend. And I think not only with a girlfriend and to continue my job as a tech guy and a technician in IT, but also doing the podcast, is that discipline. I learned to discipline my body at the gym, right? Like when we were up in the cabin, now the cabin was fun, but I was like, damn, I'm ready to go home because I'm ready to go back to the gym, right? It's that discipline that I've had. Or, I can't eat Zaxby's because I need to eat my meal prep. That is a discipline, right? Or I'm tired, but I need to come and do a podcast. That's that discipline. Because my purpose with the podcast is to get my message out because people genuinely enjoy the show. Now, I will say some people enjoy what happened was more than they do my show, and I get it. I understand it. I don't have ill will feelings on that one. It's that discipline that we have to do a show. I do say to a lot of people stepping into 2026, I think discipline is very, very important. I think it's okay to have discipline in a routine. I even told my mom that. It's like I have a routine, a certain way I do things because it's routine. It's discipline. And if I'm not able to do it, then it throws everything off for me. It does. If I don't go to the gym at a certain time, it throws it off. Right? If I don't go to the gym amount of time, that throws it off. If I don't eat correctly and eat fresh and eat what I need to eat, that throws everything off. Throws it off. It bugs me too. If I don't go to church, if I skip out on church, that throws everything off. It does. Because my purpose is to become better, 1% better each and every day. And I'll sit there and say to a lot of people in our fan base, and hope too, I'm not perfect. I'm not. I wish I was, right? I think if I was perfect, I would win $1 million. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm going to make some bad judgment calls. I pray on it. If I made a bad judgment call, I ask God for forgiveness for sure. But I'm not perfect. So I'm not saying to everybody that's listening, yes, discipline for purpose. But I think a lot of people, again, they discipline with fear because they think they have to be perfect at it. And you don't have to be perfect. I say to a lot of people going into 2026 who may have still been single, because I've been single all year. It's okay. You're not going to be attracting to everybody. And that's okay. You're not going to be liked by everybody. And that's okay. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to match your energy. That's what it said in church. They say alignment. And I think a lot of dudes, and I speak for a lot of ladies too, but I got to speak from a man's point of view. A lot of us, dude, you got to find somebody that's within your alignment. Right? And that's what I think a lot of dudes are going into 2026. They're finding somebody that is within their alignment. I posted yesterday a workout video, of course. I said, hey, if she doesn't go to the gym and she's not aligned with me, I don't want her, period. I stand by that. I don't want her. Because my discipline is too impacted. My discipline is too important. And that's what I think a lot of people have to understand is once you're disciplined, whatever it is, whether it's the gym, your job, your relationships, your friendships, your family members, if you are disciplined enough, that's what's important. And you don't take that for granted. You don't. So I do say that to say I hope that and we're going to be back. I think maybe Wednesday, maybe we'll be back for another podcast. But I do want to say happy early New Year's Eve, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you are celebrating, even if you're celebrating early, be careful. Craziness around the world, and we will catch you guys in the next podcast. I want to thank Hope as one of our producers, as well as Tyrus for this podcast, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, I like to say stay swanky, stay safe, peace.